featured speaker. Jane Hitchcock is, excuse me, I have notes, otherwise I'd never remember anything, is a nonfiction true crime writer, noted cybercrime and security expert. She has written about the subject in Net Crimes and Misdemeanors. In her latest book, just released in January, True Crimes Online, Shocking Stories of Scamming, Stalking, Murder, and Mayhem, Jane journeys into the darkest recesses of the internet to document the most depraved criminals imaginable, from bullies and stalkers to scam artists, sexual predators, and serial killers. J.A. Hitchcock uses her own experience as the victim of a cyber stalker to help others avoid a very real problem of online crime. This was a quote from the St. Petersburg Times. Without further ado, Jane Hitchcock.
Thank you, Carol. So how many of you are scared of my book now? After that description. And if you do buy it, wait till you read it. If you like true crime, you'll like it. I'm from York, Maine. Actually, I was born in Saco. We live in New York now. So I am a Mainer. My husband's from away, but he got lucky when he married me because he's not from away anymore. But yeah, I've been doing this for quite a while. Last time I was here, I talked about how I got into cybercrime. I'll briefly do that. I had just moved back from Okinawa, Japan. I'd published 6 books over there. And I was looking for a publisher here in the United States, and it turned out that somebody advertising as an agent was actually a scam artist and had scammed other writers out of money. So I tried to help these writers get their money back, and as a result, they began impersonating me online and stalking me, and then it actually resulted in some physical, actual in-person stalking where I was followed in a parking lot once. And as a result of that, I switched from writing about Okinawa, Japan, like my other books are The Ghost of Okinawa, Okinawa Tour Guide, Folk Tales of Okinawa, a children's book called Gilda Gecko, and I very quickly learned that there were no laws in place at the time to cover, they didn't even call it cybercrime at the time there, and I had to figure out how to prove it was these people and then follow the legal system. I actually started getting laws passed, training local law enforcement, and then started training law enforcement all over. And now I do training for the Department of Defense and the Department of Justice. And I kind of turned my whole life around. So from writing about neat things about Okinawa, Japan, now I write about crime. And I work as cybercrime expert with my organization working to halt online abuse. And we help adults 18 and over. If they're having any online harassment, stalking, any kind of problems online, we help them. And we also have a kids and teen division, and helping students, because you've heard it on the news, cyberbullying is a big thing. And there are a lot of these kids feel they have nowhere else to go, and you've heard it the last couple of weeks. There have been several kids that have killed themselves because of this. So how many of you have either children or grandchildren or other relations that are in school that are experiencing this kind of thing? And I would imagine most of you have somebody or know of somebody that are doing this. And I go around to schools and try and teach students how to stay safer online, especially with social media, sexting, which has become a big deal, and of course the cyberbullying and online predators. And on our Kids and Teen Division website, I try and give these kids several options because I'm very blunt with them. We were just in Wayne, Maine last week and talking to these kids, and I tell them, there are kids like you killing themselves. I don't want to see you on TV or parents on TV crying because you killed yourself, because you do have options. And the first one is to go to our website and fill out the questionnaire. We keep them anonymous. We do this for the adults as well. And we help them for free. We don't contact the school or their parents or the bully. And we try and resolve it before it gets out of hand. If they're not comfortable with that, then we have Uncle Jim, who is Jim Mayer. And if any of you know who the Jimmy Buffett is, Margaritaville and all that, he's the bass player for the Jimmy Buffett Band. And in his spare time, what he does is he has a group called I Am For You, and it's the I Am and the numeral for you. And he talks to a younger group of kids, and he writes songs. And he actually wrote a song for our Kids and Teen Division called Zip Your Lip, basically telling students, before you hit the send button, think about it. Would you say it or would you zip your lip? And so he wrote that for us, which is kind of nice. And he does a lot of promotions when he does his concerts for the kids and everything. He always mentions our organization. And then if you want to go ahead and get her. And then we also have on our website a place where if somebody wants to write a story, we have a couple poems there. And we also have a boy named Carter Isaac who actually lives in Maine. He was stalked, not stalked, he was bullied online and offline. And he's short for his age. He's a small kid, and he got picked on. And he turned it around. He's a very talented musician, and he wrote a song about it. And that's also up on our website. And as a result of that, he met Jim Mayer, and he now has a recording contract. So this kid who had been cyberbullied and bullied now is doing something with his life. And you can bet those bullies are probably wishing they hadn't done what they did to him. And then another option we offer the students is there's a website called schooltipline.com, and this is open to any school. If the school is not registered there yet, whoever, a teacher or the principal, vice principal, counselor can go and register the school so that students can report bullying or cyberbullying, whether it's happening to them or to someone else, for free and anonymously. And then getting to the fifth option, and she's coming in right now, you can bring her over here, is Phoebe the cybercrime dog. And she is the mascot of our organization, and she's a therapy dog. And she goes with me to the school. She went last week. We talked to 50 sophomores, and she does, she does tricks for the kids. Not yet. We're getting there. We're getting there. But she loves doing it. And we also, if you see her little badge on the back of her vest there, we go to the York Hospital every week, and we go and visit the patients. And it's a neat experience. And she loves doing it. Yes, you do. All right, you want to double high five? Good girl. And we got her, she was a sled dog up in Canada for the first 3 years of her life. And this couple had 3 sled dog teams, and they were getting divorced, and they just couldn't decide who would get the dogs, so they gave them all up, the 3 teams. So this lady and these 3 ladies in New Hampshire each took a team. Can you give me a fist bump? Fist bump, fist bump. Oh, you're not going to do it, are you? Here, eat that. So the lady who got her team, they were all named after the characters on the TV show Friends. So we ended up getting Phoebe. And my husband found her on Craigslist, and she was only 33 pounds when we first got her. So she's fattened up considerably. The vet says she's 5 pounds overweight, and he'd love it if he saw me doing this. And so the vet said socialize her, so I took her everywhere and then got her certified, and now we go and we do things with the schools. You want to do another double high five? Good girl. Okay. No, wait a minute. Okay. What do you say to cyberbully? No, what do you say to cyberbullies? What do you say? What do you say? You can do it. Good girl. The kids love her. And if you haven't gotten a picture, there's pictures of her up there. She's got her own Facebook profile. She's got her own Twitter account. Seriously, she does. And she's got her own, page on our website that talks a little bit more about her. And I tell the kids, now you have 5 options. And they could talk to Phoebe. And it's amazing how many of them will make friends with her on Facebook. And they'll actually send her messages privately, knowing it's me, I hope, anyway. And I think we're going to let you go. I'll have her brought back at the end so you can pet her after I'm done with my talk. But I tell the kids, I said, now you have 5 options. You can go to our website and fill out the questionnaire. You can talk to Uncle Jim. He's got an email address. You can post something if you just want to write a story or a poem or something like that. You can do that. Find an adult to talk to. Talk to Phoebe. There are 5 options there, or the schooltipline.com. So I'm trying to give them places to go because a lot of these kids, when I first started speaking at schools, would come up to me afterwards and say, they were afraid to tell their parents because they thought they would be punished. Or they thought that their parents would go right over to the bully's house, and then that would just cause more drama at school. So now I'm trying to give them ways that they can handle it without it getting out of hand and escalating out of control and maybe physical confrontations or killing themselves, unfortunately. So that's a little bit about what I do now. In addition to, I actually work with police on cases as well. And a lot of the stories actually in my new book, a lot of them were cases that I worked on. Has anyone ever watched Ghost Hunters on the Sci-Fi Channel? Anyone know who I'm talking about? Okay, so I can see a few hands. Well, anyway, it's called Ghost Hunters, and it's TAPS, the Atlantic Paranormal Society, and they actually do ghost hunting. And one of the leaders of the group is Jason Hawes, and he had come to me a few years ago where he was getting threatening emails, not only him, but anybody related to the TV show. If there were email addresses up on the TV show website or on his TAPS website, people were getting emails from this guy calling himself the serial killer, spelled C-E-R-E-A-L. And I thought he was being very clever. He would open up a Yahoo account, send a threatening email out, close it down. The next day he'd open up a new Yahoo account, do the same thing. And as the letters or the emails progressed, he was threatening that the next time Jason went off on a ghost hunting expedition, that he was going to rape and kill his wife and kill his kids, and do it with a black pantyhose. And it was very graphic how he was doing it. So Jason had come to me because the FBI were investigating, but he said, they're not telling me anything. And I said, well, I don't want to step on their toes, but go ahead, send me this information. I asked him for it, and I asked him for the emails. And when you see your email, you see to, from, subject, and the date line, but there's more information in the headers, and that's what those are called. So I showed him how to do it. I said, send those to me, I'll see what I can do. So it turned out that the FBI were looking at the wrong people, and I said, I know exactly where they're coming from, 3 libraries in Pittsburgh area. And I showed them how I did, and I said, tell them to go there. So they went there, and they figured out with certain days, certain times of the day, and they finally figured out when this guy was probably going to be at the library. And just before they were planning to do this guy opened up an email account in Jason's name and was writing a letter claiming that he was going to kill George Bush, trying to make it look like it was Jason. So the Secret Service got involved. So it was crazy. So they finally caught the guy at the library, and it turned out, and I love it when it's like this, it was, he was so skinny that his jail pants fell down in court, and he was in his, I think, late 40s, early 50s, and lived at home with his parents. You know, I mean, how is it always like that? It's either that, or if it's a serial killer, it's always, oh, but he was such a nice guy, and he helped mow my lawn, or he did this, and it's always one of the two. Either crazy person living in the basement of his parents, or he's a really nice guy and he's killing people. We don't know. It's right under our noses. So, and in the book, there are basically ripped from the headlines. If you like the ID channel or Discovery, or if you watch NCIS or Law and Order or anything like that, I've got everything from online dating stories that have gone wrong, online cannibals, and I'm serious about this. Serious, there are online cannibals, people advertising, looking to kill and eat people. Yay. You got a little bit of everything. The cyberbullying case of Phoebe Prince down in South Hadley, Massachusetts. You must remember that from a few years back. And then there was the Craigslist killer out of Boston. And so there are quite a few different stories in here. Like I said, some of them I actually worked on. So it was one of those things where I already had the Net Crimes and Misdemeanors 2nd edition out. And I approached my publisher and said, you know, people like true crime stuff, and I don't see any books that have a bunch of stories in it about the internet, where it goes from online to offline. And yes, there was a book about the Craigslist killer, and there was a book about one case and this other case, but not a compilation. And so he said, yeah, okay, let's do it, put it together. The worse, the better. You know, find the most horrific stories and let's work around it. So that's basically the pitch I gave my publisher, and it seems to have worked. I mean, it's doing okay. And it was interesting researching it because I found out at the end, after I turned in my manuscript, my publisher said, where are the photos? I went, what photos? He said, you're supposed to put together all the photos for the book. I went, what? And I said, so I had to go and contact all the police agencies, law enforcement agencies, to get the mugshots, which are free. And my publisher told me, well, if they go over a certain dollar amount, then you have to pay for it out of your own pocket. I'm going, I'm not even getting enough to write this book, you know? So I begged people. There was a guy who wrote the story, he wrote a book about the Craigslist killer. And he was so nice, he gave me photos to use for free. And then this other lady, it was the Tall Hot Blonde, she had done a documentary, and I wrote one of the chapters about basically that case, and she let me use a bunch of photos from her documentary for free. So I got a lot of nice people. And I think the most out of pocket that I had was $5 for a mugshot down in Maryland. And one of my Department of Defense guys sent somebody to go pick it up. And when I saw him at the Cybercrime conference, I tried to give him the $5. He says, oh, for God's sakes, just keep it. So I'm not paying for anything, which is great. So got my photos, and it worked out really well. So I heard somebody had a scammer go after them. Who's Miss Emma? That's you. You got a phone call from someone claiming they were from Microsoft? Just yesterday. Mm-hmm.
And he said that I had some infections on my computer, and so it made it sound really bad that, you know, you need to take care of our computer crash and all that. So he went in there and he showed me all these programs, and they all said either warning or it was two things, warning and error.
Now, was he actually, you gave him permission to go onto your computer?
I did, because I thought, well, he's from Microsoft, and I found out since then that Microsoft never, ever, ever makes phone calls.
No.
Ever. So anyway, he showed me all of these things that were wrong with my computer and my programs, and scared me that it was going to crash and my computer would be ruined and all of that. So as he was talking, I talked with two people, and the accent was so foreign I could hardly understand them, really. So when it was all said and done, in order for me to fix all of this, it was a software warranty for a year for $199.
They were trying to sell you something.
They were, and all of a sudden, I thought, something isn't right here. The more we went along, the more nervous I got. Mm-hmm. So I told him that I would let him know I wanted to check on this. He said, you mean you're checking on me? And I said, no, I'm just checking on this phone call. And he said, well, I can't guarantee that your computer is going to be protected. And he went on and on and on. So I hung up on him.
Good for you.
And called my daughter, who's very computer savvy. That's when she said Microsoft never ever calls people. As I was talking to her, he puts a message on there that says, your computer is at risk. We can fix it for you. What is your answer? And I just closed it right out. So today, my daughter went in, and there was quite a few things in there that weren't in there yesterday, and she fixed everything now, so I'm back to square one. Mm-hmm. But I learned a good lesson from that.
Now, you have antivirus and firewall software, correct?
Pardon?
You have antivirus and firewall software?
I do.
Is it Norton or McAfee, or?
No, well, it was Norton, and then today I switched over to Microsoft Security Essentials.
Okay.
And
I would have said stay with Norton, because I've used them for years, but
yeah.
make sure you keep
up
to date. This is a warning for anyone. If you ever get a call from a company claiming to be Microsoft, Apple, or even your bank, and I'll relate a story about that, what happened to me like that, and then you give them permission to go into your computer like that, and they basically take control of your computer. They're putting viruses. They're basically taking over your computer. And she's lucky that you had somebody to contact. So if you ever get anything like that, just hang up on them. Did a number come up on the caller ID? Do you remember? It did. Did you try and do like a reverse search on that online to see where it came from?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you might want to just do that for the heck of it and report it.
I could hardly, I spoke to a woman and a man, and I could hardly understand them. And they said there was a lot of countries overseas that were calling here, scamming. So that was kind of unsettling.
Yeah, it's the same thing when you get any of those emails like the ones claiming to be the Nigerians where they have a lot of money, or Saddam Hussein's gold loot and you can have a part of it. It's the same thing.
Well, I thought if I'd have blocked that, then I'd given my credit card number.
Exactly, and then they would have been charging other things on it. So if anybody ever asks you, especially for money or something, that should send off alarms right then and there. And now I'll relate, I got a call on my cell phone because we no longer have a landline. And it was a pre-recorded message, and it said that your debit card with Kennebunk Savings Bank is now on hold because of unauthorized use, and you need to talk to somebody in security, press 1. And I'm looking at it, and I looked at it, and it came up as a blocked call. I'm thinking, well, if it was Kennebunk Savings, they probably wouldn't block their call. So I hung up, I called my bank, and they all know me because I bring Phoebe in. I said, yeah, I'm Phoebe's mom. I said, I just got this phone call. And the guy said, no, we would never call you. I said, well, somehow they're getting customers' phone numbers and they're calling because my cell phone number is not listed anywhere. You know, it's a cell phone number. It's not like the white pages or anything. And I said, and they're calling customers. And he checked and he says, no, you're fine. Your accounts are fine. And the next, I would say probably within 3 hours when I went onto the Kitty Mug Savings website, they already put an alert on there. Say if you get a phone call claiming to be from us, it's not us. If there was a problem with your account, we would, see you the next time you came in, or we would do it and we wouldn't have it be blocked, be a blocked number. So always be suspicious of anything where they're approaching you.
But this man got real belligerent, and I knew that wasn't
Yeah,
his house.
yeah,
Real belligerent.
yeah. Now, has he tried to call you back?
No.
Good.
I was looking for any messages today.
Was it your home phone or your cell phone?
My home phone.
Okay. Are you listed in the white pages? Okay. I'm wondering how you got your number.
Do I have an unlisted number?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
No, so you're listed in the white pages.
Oh, yeah.
That's probably, they were probably just going through online in the white pages and just picking numbers at random. Yeah, so just be careful. Yeah, but good for you. I'm glad you, or else you would have been here crying tonight, I think, if you'd lost that. But what's really good is if it had charged to your credit card, you found it was a fraud, the credit card companies are really good about not making you responsible for anything. So that is one good thing, but you never know what they would have done with the information other than that, so.
I've been getting some emails. If you want, I can get some money from people. Today I got a chance to share in $18 million.
Oh, well, why didn't you jump on it?
Well, I don't think I want $18 million. Thank you very much.
Well, and then there was another one going around that I actually had. It was one of my sisters emailed me, and she said, I just got an email from some guy claiming to be a hitman, that he had been hired to kill me, but if I pay, this is my sister. Thank God she knew to email me, and if she paid him a certain amount, I think it was $5,000, something like that, then he wouldn't do the hit. I wrote back to her, I went, Sharon, number one, who would hire to kill you? I mean, really, when you think about it, unless your husband's really ticked off at you. I said, and number two, why would he take money from you when hitmen are usually paid a pretty good amount of money? And she said, I didn't really think about it, but I thought you'd know the answer. I said, it's a scam, don't worry, just don't respond to it, please. And don't hit the reply and say, who are you, or anything like that. And that was one. And then I got an email from a lady where, and she actually lost money on this, was she got an email and then a phone call from someone claiming to be her grandson who was over in Europe, and he had been robbed of his passport and his wallet and all this stuff, and could you wire me money, Grammy? And knew exactly what to call her, whatever she was called. And she actually wired, I think it was $1,000 or something like that. She wired it over there via Western Union, and then she found out that it was a scam, basically. But she got an email and a phone call, and she said sounded so far away she couldn't really tell if it was her grandson or not, but it was a boy, and it sounded to be about the right age, and he sounded very upset, and crying and this and that, so she just assumed it was him. So be careful of these things.
That happened to my husband.
Oh, really?
Not long ago, and he said, what's your girlfriend's name? It was not. He said, that's what I thought. Hung up on it.
Oh, no. She's done now. You got to run faster, Carol. No, I mean, you guys are hearing stories from people where this actually happened to. I mean, so this does happen.
I wanted to sell my mother's grand piano, and I put it on Craigslist, and I asked $10,000 for it. Well, I guess that number attracted some people, but I got an offer from this man who said, I'm in the service, I'm out on a ship at sea, and but I will put the money in an eBay account for you, and I'll pay the $10,000. So just go to eBay, and he gave me the link, and he said, just you look and you'll see that I've put $10,000 in there for the piano, but I need somebody to come and pick it up. and so I need to pay that person $1,000. So would you please go to Western Union and send $1,000 to this person so he can come and get your piano?
Mhm.
And
Oh, and you did it, right? I was going to say, I hope not. Yeah, that's another great example on Craigslist, because we recently put up my husband's old Dodge, and he got a newer truck this past December, and so he put the old Dodge, well, I put it up for him on Craigslist, and it was something, it wasn't a guy on a ship somewhere, but is the truck still available? And I wrote back, yes, it is. And I always use as my signature line, it's my net crimes. And most of the time I didn't get a reply, but there were a couple of people that actually wrote back saying, well, I will send you a cashier's check for the full amount, and then I will have somebody come pick it up. And I wrote back and I said, you're a scammer. I'm reporting you to Craigslist and to your internet service provider. And I said, yeah, I said, didn't you read my signature line, what I do for a living? You know, it just cracks me up how some of them are so bold that they still think that they're going to get somebody, you know, to do this. But this is, has anyone else had something happen to them online? Oh, here we go. Hip, hip, hip.
One night I went out with a friend to a film, and when I came back, there was an email from her saying that she was in London, and again, she'd lost her passport, needed money, blah, blah, blah. Please send something to Western Union. So, knowing that I had just been with her,
I was going to say.
so she wasn't in London, I wrote back and I said, Sarah, I'd love to help you. Please send me the routing number for your bank. I'll put it in and you can withdraw it. So, of course, I got an email back saying, oh, no, that won't work. You have to do it through Western Union. It turned out that someone had somehow hacked into her email and had sent the same message to all of her contacts.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, most people contacted her, tried to get in touch with her to find
Yeah.
out if it was true.
Yeah, well, yeah, if you ever get anything like that and you're questioning it, get in touch with that person and just call or see if they are really there and just say, are you in London? And they're probably going to say, no, I'm not. But yeah, this happens a lot. And unfortunately, there are people who do send the money. They wire the money. They pay those Nigerians. I still don't understand how people do that. And one woman that I had read about embezzled over $400,000 from the business that she worked at, thinking that she was going to get a big chunk of the millions of dollars that were supposed to come her way. So there are people who do fall for this, unfortunately. And a lot of these people are very intelligent people. They're not stupid, but they see the dollar signs, and then they lose all sense of control. And they're thinking, I'm really going to get something out of this. So it's just crazy. Anybody else have any experiences? Yes?
I have a question.
Sure.
I have an 800 number. I quite often, like several times a day, I will get called and there'll be nobody at the other end of the line. Is that an attempt to learn something?
I don't know. I think some of them are just robocalls. Yeah, and I mean, because on my cell phone, I'll see it. If it's blocked, I don't pick it up. If it's a number I don't recognize, I don't pick it up. If they want to leave me a message, they'll leave me a message. And then I'll do a reverse search online just to check it out. And most of the time, they're trying to sell something. My husband has a landscaping business, and he kept until we upgraded to, we had the iPhone, so we upgraded to the iOS 7, which is the newest software update. Now you can block callers, but before that you couldn't block people. And so now you can. But he kept getting these phone calls from people claiming to be able to advance his ranks on Google. And he's sitting there going, he finally Googled himself one day, his business, and he said, I'm already number 4. Why would I want to be any higher? And he was like happy with that. So as soon as we found out you could block calls, now he's blocked everybody, which is good. So if you have the Apple iPhone, upgrade to the iOS 7 and you can start blocking people, which is great. Anybody here sell on Craigslist? Buy, sell, besides this lady here? It's we do a lot of it. We actually one of my husband's clients was an older lady, and her daughter finally convinced her it was time to clean out the house because Dad had been gone for 13 years. Well, my husband was like, yeah, well, I'll help. And he and his friend, he'll go over and help. Well, he came home with the first load in his truck. He said, I didn't realize it was a hoarder's house. So he brought home, no lie, it was radio tubes, TV tubes, old radios, almost 1,000 records, LPs, 45, 78s. I mean, I just couldn't believe it. Old hair dryers. I mean, really old, like from the 50s. And I didn't even know they had hair dryers back. You know, the handheld. No, handheld hair dryers I'm talking about, not the bonnet thing that I remember when I was a kid. I couldn't believe freezer defrosters. And it was this toaster. It was a 8-slice. It was a 220 outlet. And it was just crazy. And the stuff this guy had, I couldn't believe it. So I put up an ad on Craigslist saying, I have almost 1,000 records, come and get them. I got almost 40 people that responded wanting them. I already had the one guy who answered first, and he came and he got them. I said, thank you, because they were just filling up my house and they smelled moldy and disgusting. But we've had really good luck with Craigslist, you know, buying and selling on it. Yeah.
What are some ways that you would advise as far as protecting yourself using Craigslist?
I was actually asked this last week when I was in Wayne, Maine. Has anyone ever heard of Wayne, Maine, by the way? I'd never heard of it before. We went to, it was Camp Androscoggin, and it was a local high school. I actually took the sophomores to the camp for a week of orientation, had different speakers come in, so it was interesting. And one of the teachers actually asked me, you know, how do I stay safe? I said, if it's a small item that you're selling or you're buying, or a smallish item, arrange to meet in a public area, a shopping mall lot, or, you know, the local grocery store, Hannaford, Shawsworth parking lot, Starbucks, somewhere like that, somewhere public, so that they're less likely to pull a gun on you or try and rob you or whatever. If it's a bigger item, like with us with the plow truck, what we would do is, one day we had a barbecue, had some friends over. So when these people came to look at the truck, we had people over at the house. And it was always at least the two of us there. And the same thing. And when this guy came to actually look at the truck, and he brought his granddaughter, and he was an older guy, so it worked out well. And my husband ended up not selling the truck. He traded it for a 1939 John Deere tractor. It's this huge thing. It's in our yard. It's in our yard right now. He's trying to rebuild the carburetor on it to get it running. So we got a good deal.
One of the things I learned from this experience is that this man has given me the link, said in case you don't have an eBay account, here's the link to eBay. Well, there was one letter that was slightly different.
Yeah.
It wasn't the eBay account. So luckily I went in fresh and put in eBay, and there was no $10,000 in my account.
Of course not.
Whereas on the link he gave me, it looked like there was $10,000.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Don't
the,
ever go into a link that somebody sends you.
exactly.
Go back and go into it fresh.
That's the one thing I tell people, if you ever get any emails or anything and it says click on this link, your account has been compromised or something like that, never ever click on the link, because even though it may look legitimate in the email, if you hover your mouse on it, over it, depending on what email program you're using, you can usually see at the bottom what the actual link is. And it's not going to be the same one as the one you think you're clicking on. And the same thing I tell people, if they're on a website and they see something, again, hover your mouse over that link and make sure it matches up with the website that you're dealing with. And if you do any shopping online, especially with Christmas coming up, you're going to get a lot of good deals. I hate them all. I do all my shopping online. When you go in and you either put an item in a cart, or I don't know however some of them do, it's a cart, or it's, I can't think of something else, a checkout basket or something like that. When you get to that point and you start adding items to that cart or the basket or whatever it is, the top address should change from HTTP to HTTPS, which means secure. If it doesn't change that, it's not a secure site. Another way to tell is at the bottom of your web browser, if there's a lock, it should be locked. And when it's not a secure site, it's unlocked. So that's another way to tell if you're on a secure site or not, if you're doing any online banking or anything like that as well. But there are a lot of great deals out there, especially around the holidays. You get a lot of free shipping, free gift wrapping, and things like that. And I tell people, stick with retailers that you're familiar with. And if somebody recommends one, look for that secure, you know, the lock or the S when you're shopping. And also check their shipping policies, you know, the shipping rates, their return policies, refunds. You know, you get something that's a great deal, and then you look at the shipping, and shipping's $30 for a $3 item. You know, so be very, very careful about that as well. But we've gotten some great deals. There's if you want some really good local deals, there's dailysteals.com, one sale a day. Groupon, has anyone tried that? Living Social? Yeah, we've gotten some really good deals off of those. And there's also one, I don't know if it's just south of us. It's actually southern New Hampshire and southern Maine. is sweetjack.com. Has anyone heard of that one? I'm trying to think of a couple of others, but there's some good sales sites like that that you can keep an eye out for and get some really good deals. And of course, eBay. eBay's good. eBay's very safe. Now that they actually bought PayPal, so transactions, any credit card transactions, if you don't actually use PayPal, they're all secure and they will take care of you if something does go wrong. So there are a lot of good options out there. You don't have to be afraid to be online. I know it's my job and I work with victims every day, but it's actually a great place, and you get to stay in touch with people that from around. If you've got family on the other side of the world or friends or anything like that, it's great to stay in touch. And I tell people it's just like real life. You have your good places and you have your bad places, and you just have to learn how to stay out of the bad places, or at least stay away from them as much as you can.
Is your book about these instances?
Yeah, actually, the true crime online is about real things that happen to people. There is actually a story about a family that was selling a ring on Craigslist, and it went really bad. And that was out west in Washington State. And stories about cyberbullying, and like I said, there's one about online dating, and it's just a little bit of everything. And the online cannibal, can't forget that. I'm not going to tell you what he ate, what he cooked that he ate, or he tried to eat. I'll leave that to your imagination. So what would you guys like to learn more about, or do you have any questions, concerns, anything else maybe that happened to you? It's good that you guys are sharing your stories. I like hearing stuff like this.
Can you tell us a little bit about your technical background?
Actually, my technical background is I learned it from scratch, quite honestly. When everything happened to me, there were no laws. I lived in Maryland at the time. I called the local police up. I said, somebody's impersonating me online, and they're doing it on news groups. And the cop goes, well, I can come and take a report, but what's a news group? I'm like, well, if you don't know what I'm talking about, how can you help me? Well, you can call the FBI. I called the FBI. They said, we'll send an agent out to you. It took almost a week to get an agent. And in the meantime, these people who were impersonating me had posted my home phone number, my home address, saying I was into sadomasochistic sex. Come by any time of the day or night. And I got phone calls, and I'm sitting here going, what if somebody stops by? So I turned to my online friends, and I said, how do I figure out where these messages are coming from? And that's when I learned about full headers. And there's information in the full headers that you can actually trace it back to the originating internet service provider. And then once you have that information, if you have a lawyer, you're working with a police officer, they can then subpoena the internet service provider to find out who belongs to that information or to that account. And
This other book tells about.
now this gets a little bit more technical. Yes, this one does definitely get more technical as far as this has a lot of tips and how to read full headers and all that information like that. Yeah. If you know how to. Each email program has a different way to show full headers, because when you're looking at the email, you're only seeing very little information at the top there. And people don't realize that if you do what I call showing full headers, you'll get from date from date and subject line, all of a sudden you'll see like all this other information. It's all computer-ease, I guess is the best way to put it. And you have to know how to read it. And so when I train law enforcement, and sit there and training cops and how to read this, and usually by the end of my training session, they've got smoke coming out of their ears and they're cross-eyed because they're like, wow, we didn't know all this information, which is good because that means they learned something and then they use it. And I've trained cops from all over the country, and I've actually done some conferences, the DoD Cybercrime Conference every year, where they come from all over the world. And I now do 2 or 3 training sessions, and I've been doing that for the past 7 years. So it's so it's basically I learned from the ground up how to do it. Yes.
I was told at at some point that for hackers that reach you by email and somehow can get access to your address book and acquire all of that information, that in order to block that, you put in AAAA at the beginning of your address book.
I have never heard of that, quite honestly.
It sounded
and
a little too
honestly,
good to be true.
When you have these people that are hackers, what they're basically doing the majority of the time is they just guess your password. This happened to Sarah Palin a couple of years ago. I don't know if you guys remember this guy got arrested for hacking her Yahoo account. Well, it turned out that she used, I think it was her dog's name or something like that, for the password. And it's so easy for these hackers to just go through your social media profiles, do a search of you online, find out basic information about you, if you're listing your birth date or anything like that, and there's so many people that still use it, and people actually use the word password as their password, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or something like that. So it's really easy for these people to just guess your password. It's really not that hard, and that's how they get into your address books. And I tell everyone, I know people hate trying to remember a password, but I say if you use a combination of letters and numbers and transpose the numbers so that it looks like a letter, like if you want to do mongoose, you do M0, N, 6 for G, OO, $, 3 for an E. I mean, and you know it's mongoose, and you'll remember it like that, but that just makes it so much harder for somebody to guess your password. And you know, I love it when they say, you know, hackers, and they're really not hacking. You know, the hackers go after the big stuff. It's the scam artists and others that just, they cruise around until they find somebody and chat them up on Facebook, or you know, people are making friends with people they don't even know, and they just guess it, quite honestly. Oh, we have up here, run.
I can talk loud, I don't know how to talk loud. I can talk loud. No, I had somebody send emails to everybody in my address book with just, you know, hi, how are you, and a link, and then my name, just my first name, or no, my first and last name. Why are they, what are they trying to do?
Usually the link goes to a site that automatically uploads a virus. And if you find out that somebody is sending people in your address book, you need to go and change your password right away.
Yeah, because people wrote to me,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden I was getting, I mean, they really thought it was, at first people thought it was a real thing, I guess, that I was asking how they were. I mean, I hadn't talked to them in a long time. They
Yeah.
were giving me all this information. But other people said, you know, we didn't open the link.
Yeah,
And that was good.
yeah.
But, so they're just,
They're looking to try and upload a virus that would actually steal information. Or the same thing would be if somebody sends, if some of these spammers will send an attachment. Never ever open the attachment
No,
either.
no.
You know, it's one of those things where unless you really know who it's from and that you know that they're sending you photos or whatever, never ever open it. You know, and never click on links that you didn't ask for. Because I'll get some friends, they think they're being helpful and sending me news links. All right, back to them saying, did you really send this to me? Before I go clicking on it, you know, because it looks like a weird link to me.
I don't open any of them anymore.
Yeah. Oh, we have a question in the back.
Well, mine is just a comment, similar to yours just now. Mine's just a comment. I had a friend that I follow on Twitter, and he got a direct message from my Twitter account into his Twitter account, giving him a link saying, hey, check this out. And he was smart enough, he didn't do it because I never actually use Twitter to tweet. So I just listen on Twitter. So is that the same thing?
It's the
I
same
immediately
thing.
turned my, changed
Oh,
my
well, yeah,
password.
okay. As long as you change your password right away, you're all set. But if you leave an account dormant like that and then you get somebody who's pretty clever at figuring out passwords, it's something that you forget about. A lot of people still have MySpace accounts, but since MySpace has really changed a lot, they haven't logged into it in a long time, and they're finding out that their old MySpace accounts are being taken over because they probably used a very simple password way back when MySpace was the big, king of the internet, and now they're not anymore. So you just be careful. Like I said, you try and make the password hard for somebody to guess, but easy for you to remember, and that's the best thing to do. Anybody else? Yeah?
So I have
Oh, hold on. Microphone.
I have who knows how many passwords for different things.
Yeah.
How can I keep track of them all? They tell me I shouldn't write them down.
Yeah, you shouldn't, but there are actually some very secure password programs. There, password keepers, I guess is the best way to put it. I'm not sure if I wrote about that in the Net Crimes book or not, but anyway, if you're interested, I can, if anybody wants to write down my email address, I could send you links to these things. But there are some programs that you can get, some software that you can get where they'll keep track of your passwords for you and securely.
How secure are they?
Pretty secure, seriously, yeah, yeah. I mean,
Still having to trust somebody else.
yes, you are. Yeah, well, you know, it's one of those things where you can't trust anybody anymore, but, I mean, look at the NSA, you know. I mean, who didn't know that your stuff was being looked at by the government? If anybody here says that they weren't, baloney. They're looking at everything. They're looking for certain keywords and all that, but you know that they're able to look at anything that we're doing online. And I had one guy say, well, how do I stop that? I said, well, go live in a cave somewhere. That's the only way you're going to get away from this. I said, this is just something that we have to learn to live with and try and be as safe as possible. You're not going to be 100% safe, but I'm hoping after hearing me talk that you'll be a little bit safer. And, oh, yep, hold on. You gotta wait.
Does Scammer get into your word processing programs? Like I have WordPerfect on my computer.
If they end up guessing your password, or like what they did with her, with taking over a computer, then they have access to anything on the hard drive.
Anything on my hard drive?
Yeah, anything on the hard drive. So
Okay.
that's why it's so important to make sure you have antivirus firewall software. I prefer Norton, that's just my preference.
Yeah,
but,
that's what
there are a
I
whole bunch of different ones, but what I do in addition to the automatic updates, I always do, every week I do a manual update just to make sure, and then I scan my hard disk every week, so I'm just, well, the work I do, I kind of have to. And just to make sure everything's okay.
I did change all my passwords after the
You did? Good. Good. Okay, that's good. If you have any doubts, I would take it to, if you have a local computer shop or something like that, and maybe have them run a separate test on it, because there are spyware programs that can be put on your computer that the firewall and the antivirus software won't catch. So you might want to consider if you have a local guy that does computer repair work or something and see. And if you guys want, like I said, I'll give you my email address. There are a couple free anti-spyware programs I can recommend. Well, Norton doesn't do a lot of, Norton and Microsoft don't necessarily do spyware. They do some of it, but there are a couple of free programs that I do use and I recommend that where I've run it on my computer and found things on there that Norton didn't catch. So it's just something else that you can consider doing. Okay, does everybody have their pens ready? You guys want to write this down? Get your pens ready. And if not, I'm sure Carol can give you the address if you didn't bring anything with you tonight. And Carol, if you guys want to post this up on the library website, you can put my address up there. It's WHOA, whoa. That's my Working to Halt Online Abuse, which is the acronym, at haltabuse.org. Very easy to remember. HALTABUSC.org. Whoa, WHOA, at haltabuse, HALTABUSC.org. No, it's my email address. Yeah, so if you guys want any information on programs or if you have a concern or a question, I'll try and answer it for you, okay? So you can follow up, and if not, Carol will be happy to give you the address if you didn't bring any paperwork with you. And like I said, you guys can post it up on the website as well if you want to.